Hello, welcome back to the channel. It's Amy the Cat Lady here, and we're back with another Science of Fallout episode. Today we are talking about the dogs in Fallout. So dogs are man's best friend for sure. Dogs were the first animal to be domesticated by humans around 14,000 years ago. They're descended from the wolf, Canis lupus, but due to centuries of selective breeding they're very different from their wild cousins. So the domestic dog comes in a massive range of sizes, shapes and colours, and it can be quite hard to believe that a Chihuahua and a Great Dane are still the same species, but they are. Each breed of dog that exists was bred for a specific purpose, such as hunting, retrieving, herding or guarding. All breeds can interbreed with each other, in theory anyway. Despite what some people believe, there's no such thing as hybrid vigour. The crossbreeds that are around today, such as the Labradoodle, they do have cute portmanteau names, but they're still Canis familiaris, so they're not hybrids, and also hybrid vigour isn't a real thing. We do see hybridisation with wolves and coyotes, however, but that doesn't necessarily make the resultant animals healthier, so something to bear in mind, because it's a term that gets thrown around quite a lot and it's not really accurate. But regardless of the size, the physical anatomy of dogs is largely the same, with some variations based on breed because they've been selectively bred for different appearances. So there's 3 different classes of skull shape in dogs. So the dolichocephalic skulls are longer with elongated snouts, which you see in sighthounds like greyhounds or Afghan hounds. The mesocephalic are the in-between and the most like the wolves seen in things like Labrador retrievers, German shepherds, beagles and the like. And then you've got your brachycephalic breeds, which are the flat-faced breeds that have very short noses and muzzles like pugs and bulldogs. And you might be aware there's a lot of discussion about the health issues facing the brachycephalic breeds. That's kind of beyond the scope of this video for the most part, but it is something that at least is being talked about more and more, because it is a big issue for a lot of these breeds. So dogs are carnivores with teeth that are designed for catching prey and eating meat, with extremely strong canine teeth, and they're not fun to extract if you have to extract them during canine dentistry, I can tell you that for nothing. I have had a canine extraction in a large dog that ended up with me having to go to the minor injuries unit at the hospital. So, you know, very strong teeth, but because of their domestication, they have evolved to eat a more omnivorous diet like humans. So unlike cats, who are still obligate carnivores and must eat a meat-based diet, dogs can thrive without meat, although generally it is preferred to include meat in their diet unless there's a really good reason not to. Dogs have exceptionally good senses of smell, hearing and taste. They have good eyesight and better night vision than we do, thanks to the tapetum, which is the reflective layer at the back of the eye that causes that laser beam eye effect that you see if you catch them in headlights or with the flash of a camera. However, their red-green colour vision is poor, so everything they see tends to be sort of yellow, blue and grey coloration, and they really struggle to tell the difference between red and green. In terms of their reproduction, so dogs can have up to 2 litters per year, as their estrus cycle is prolonged and lasts roughly 6 months, so kind of twice a year that the females will come into heat and be able to breed. Gestation periods around 63 days, but can vary a couple of days either side of that. And an average litter will be about 6 puppies, but this depends on the breed. On average, and certainly in my experience, larger breeds tend to have larger litters, and the record that I've seen in my time as a vet was 19 puppies, which was quite a lot, so something to bear in mind. And you do find that a lot of the smaller breeds like your Chihuahuas and your Yorkshire Terriers tend to have maybe 2 to 3 as an average for their litters, so it does depend on the size of the dog and the breed. Dogs have been bred selectively for specific behavioural traits depending on the purpose of the breed, which means that they do show kind of instinctual behaviours of that type. Border Collies, for example, have a really strong herding instinct, and they will kind of do this even without any training, while dogs like Terriers and Sighthounds have really strong prey drives, and they have a tendency to chase smaller animals But trainability is an important trait, and most breeds can be trained to follow commands and do what they're told, with huskies being an exception. Anyone that's ever known a husky or owned a husky knows exactly what I'm talking about. They just do what they want to do and they don't care what you say. A lot of the time they can be very nice dogs, but they are very headstrong and very stubborn. So I say anybody that's owned a husky will know exactly what I mean. But dogs are pretty intelligent. They have a capability to learn a lot of words and even some concept of numbers. They can be trained to respond to verbal commands and even hand signals as well. I have seen that with a dog that went deaf and then learned to interpret hand signals as commands, as a form of kind of sign language almost, instead of verbal commands, which is really, really amazing. And dogs have become really useful as medical alert animals. Some of them are able to help, for example, detect changes in blood sugar levels in people that have diabetes, and detect seizures coming on in people that have epilepsy, as well as many, many other applications. Obviously the guide dogs for blind people being one of the most well-known ones, but they have got a lot of usefulness in managing health conditions for a lot of people. So with how important dogs are to human society, it's no surprise that they're still around after the world has ended in fallout. Man's best friend endures, and it makes sense. Firstly, there have been a lot of dogs around when the bombs fell, and the survivors may well have kept them around to guard camps or help them hunt for food. In the Wasteland, we do encounter feral dogs, dogs that haven't known human company for a few generations and as such are aggressive and wary. But you do also see a lot of domesticated dogs in the Wasteland. It seems to be only really kind of larger breeds that have survived, such as the Australian cattle dog or blue heeler, German shepherds and rottweilers, and there are also mongrels that are used by the Legion in Fallout New Vegas, and wild mongrels that are found across the Commonwealth in Fallout 4 as well. So it's possible that some of these dogs are partly ghoulified. They do show hair loss and kind of open sores and thickening of the skin. The other possibility is that a lot of them are suffering from mange, which also can lead to this appearance. And I dare say that veterinarians are not are in short supply in the Wasteland in order to be able to treat them for mange. It seems pretty likely to me for a couple of reasons. One is, as I said, there's probably not much treatment available for it. I mean, there are a couple of things that can be used to treat mange. Some of the older treatments are quite nasty chemicals, but there are now better, safer treatments available, but probably not in the Wasteland. And the other and most likely is that the dogs probably do have some degree of suppression of their immune system because of the background radiation, and mange is caused by mites that live in the skin. So the immune system normally keeps them in check, but if the immune system gets suppressed, then that allows these mites to multiply and to start causing problems. So there's two main kinds of mange that are seen in dogs. The first one is sarcoptic mange, caused by Sarcoptes scabiei, which is also known as scabies. This is zoonotic. It can be transferred between dogs and humans, so we can get scabies from dogs that are infected with it as well. So something that would be an important thing to be wary of if you're dealing with dogs in the Wasteland. The other one is what's known as demodectic mange, and that's caused by demodex mites, which are distinctive because they have this little kind of cigar shape to them, unlike the other kinds of mites that are quite round and circular in appearance. Most mammals have their own species of demodex, and small numbers of these mites will live in the skin without causing any harm to the host because their population is controlled by the immune system. So dogs that are immune suppressed are at risk of developing this form of mange. So it's something to be aware of, although demodectic mange is not contagious, so it's less of an issue for people and for other dogs, but it would seem quite likely to me that a lot of the dogs in the Wasteland are potentially suffering from this, possibly due to the effective radiation on their immune system. In Fallout 4 though, we do encounter some dogs that have a bit more of a ghoulish appearance, and particularly when you see the glowing mongrels. They usually run around in packs, and oftentimes they will have an alpha leading them, which is a tougher variant. Although, interestingly, you do find sometimes that the alpha tends to be wearing a collar. And there are quite a number of variants of these because of the way enemies work in Fallout 4, that they scale with the player's level, meaning that as you level up, you're going to encounter tougher and tougher versions of these dogs. But they are a common enemy to stumble across in the Wasteland. But there are also plenty of domesticated dogs, so scavengers in Fallout 3 often have dogs with them. If you go to Little Lamplight, the kids there's about half a dozen dogs running around that presumably help protect the town from the super mutants and things like that. In Fallout 4, there's a guy called Gene who's a random encounter, and he's a dog breeder, so you can buy junkyard dogs from him. And if you've got Far Harbour, there's a friendly super mutant called Erickson who also sells a dog as well as a wolf and a mutant hound that you can buy and send to your settlements as well, which is pretty cool. So, you know, this guy, and he's really interesting, Erickson, because he trains these animals, and he takes care of them before offering them for sale, and I just think it's really, really sweet. Of course, we can't really talk about dogs in Fallout without mentioning the best boy or boys of these games, Dogmeat. He's a companion in Fallout 2, Fallout 3 and Fallout 4. Probably not the same dog, and maybe not necessarily related, because we know Dogmeat in 4 is a different breed. He's a German Shepherd, while Dogmeat in Fallout 2 and Fallout 3 is a blue healer. But he clearly represents a loyal canine companion to the protagonist, and we don't really get much information about his background from any of the games, really. I believe that the Dogmeat in Fallout 2 is the Dogmeat from Fallout 1, where you meet him at the Cafe of Broken Dreams, which is kind of a fourth wall breaky kind of a place. But it's just really, really interesting that, you know, there's this dog, and he is obviously a very good boy, and a strong reference to one of the biggest inspirations for Fallout, which is the Mad Max movies. And even in the TV show, there's a Dogmeat who's officially called CX-404 and was bred by the Enclave, but she was nicknamed Dogmeat by the Ghoul, who clearly does have a soft spot for dogs. We know this because his pre-war persona clearly loved his Border Collie Roosevelt. And in my book, anyone that cares for dogs isn't entirely a bad person, no matter what else they've done. But in the game, the hostile dogs can be quite challenging to fight at lower levels because they're fast, and I say they usually come in a pack, so there's a few of them. They'll lunge at you to bite, but they can also be seen to run around and try and flank you as well. And as a companion, the various iterations of Dogmeat do tend to do decent damage. If you've got Fallout 3 and Broken Steel, Dogmeat does level with the player and can become pretty much invincible, even though he's not essential and in theory can be killed. But if for some reason Dogmeat does die in Fallout 3, at least there's a perk called Puppies that lets you get him back if the worst was to happen. In Fallout 4, Dogmeat is essential, and you make use of his tracking skill in order to find out where Kellogg is hiding. But both iterations can be instructed to find weapons, chems and ammunition for you, which is really, really handy, especially in Fallout 3 if you get the Firelance random encounter and you can't find where the weapon landed, which happened to me not too long ago. And that was the first time that I had ever got the Firelance and then I couldn't find it, but the best boy Dogmeat managed to find it for me, so that was great. So in Fallout New Vegas, there's no Dogmeat, but we do have Rex. Rex is a cyber dog that was presumably created at Big Mountain, so he's got cybernetic upgrades, but otherwise is very much like any other canine companion, especially once you get him a new brain. He also does, I only noticed this when I was recording footage for this video, when he sits down, he actually makes a wee bit of a squeak, like his artificial joints are a wee bit stiff and rusty, which I think is really, really such a cute little touch. So yeah, Rex is there, and you get him from the king if you offer to find him a new brain, which you can acquire from a couple of other domestic dogs that are found round about the Wasteland. And I think Roxy deserves an honourable mention here too. So Roxy is the cyber dog that you can make at the X8 Research Centre in Old World Blues, and I would always say leave Roxy alive at the end of the DLC. You can, if she dies in X8, you can just make another one, but make sure you leave one alive when you finish the DLC, because if you do, then she escapes and finds Rex and creates a litter of cyber pups, which are known as Boston Terrifiers, and these puppies will cause some adorable chaos for the Wasteland, but you know, puppies are great. The cyber dogs are likely to be German Shepherds, which makes sense because they were created for law enforcement and military applications, and German Shepherds are the most common breed for this in the real world because they're smart, they're strong, and they're capable of learning to do a lot of tasks. So that's a rundown of the dogs that you find in Fallout. Not a lot has changed, only that some of them have become feral and aggressive, and some people do unfortunately end up eating them. But others keep them as pets just like before and use them for garden purposes or use them to help with hunting, that kind of a thing. But the importance of dogs to human society really can't be overstated, and it's really good to see that even in a nuclear apocalypse that doesn't change. Might be the cat lady, but I do love dogs too, and I really do miss seeing dogs on a daily basis since I had to give up my veterinary career. So what do you think? Do you like dog meat, and why is the answer yes? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and hit subscribe if you want to see more. And I'm always up to see cute dog photos if you have a dog, or screenshots of your canine companions in the game. Hit me up on my social media channels if you want to share cute dog photos. I'm always going to be happy about that. So thanks for listening, and hopefully you find this interesting. I'll see you all next time. Bye.